هبت نفحات أنسية فشد البلبل ألف تحية وبدا البدر الليلة شوقا يلقي الأنوار الذهبية هبت نفحات أنسية فشد البلبل ألف تحية وبدا البدر الليلة شوقا يلقي الأنوار الذهبية يلقي الأنوار الذهبية.
You know, the ultimate aim of prayer during the Ramadan is that of when Sayyida to Aisha asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that what is the best dua to make in this month of Ramadan. He said, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to Sayyida to Aisha, he said you should seek for Allah's forgiveness and rahmah. Allahumma innaka afuwun karimun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni.
الجدول أهلا أهلا أهلا
Sir, but the money is bad.
There's nothing wrong with this money now. Can't you see that everything is there? That's how I collected it too. We are all Nigerians. There's nothing wrong with it. You can spend it. If you take it to filling station now, they will collect the money. So just give me my change, I beg.
But you should have told me before climbing the bike.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with this money. Can't you see? Everything is there now. What is wrong with this money now?
Brothers and sisters in Islam, you've seen what just happened between the bike man and the passenger. The passenger was trying to impose a defected currency on the bike man. And the passenger didn't inform the bike man from the onset that his currency was a bad note. And now the bike man is trying to reject the money. But the passenger naturally is trying to impose the defected money on the bike man. This is common every day. This is something we are all guilty of. We feel that someone has given you a bad currency, you also need to push it to another person. As a conscious Muslim, every evil should stop at your doorstep. You shouldn't allow another evil to pass through you. Rather, you should be an end to every evil. If I say because I was given a bad currency, I should give it to another person, then I have not passed the message, I have not changed anything. The Prophet ﷺ said, Inna mina nas, mafatihul khair wa maghalikul shar. That among people, there are people who are keys to goodness and they are a kind of barrier to evil. So a Muslim should be a key to goodness and a barrier to evil. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Man goshana falaysa minna. Whoever deceives us is not a part of us. For you to give someone a defected money without informing the person is a kind of deceit. It is called akhiyana, which is deceit in Islam. So basically, whatever you're going to do in any business transaction, al-ikhlas is the key. You should be sincere with the person whom you are transacting a business deal with. If you're going to give him a bad money, notify him from the beginning. If he agrees with it, that's fine. And if he rejects it, then that is the end of the business. At least, even if you don't have taqwa, your conscience should break you on its own. Thank you very much.
Communicating with people, communicating with your Muslim brothers, your Muslim sisters, everyone around you is very, very important. And having that heart-to-heart interaction with them is very, very important. But what we want to talk about in this modern day, we have to also understand the concepts of silence. Because as Muslims, we are not people that will just come out and say anything anyhow. No, we have to take our time. We have to look at what we want to say. We have to listen to that your inner voice before you even utter it out. Because the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man kana yu'min billahi wal yawmil akhir, falyaqul khayran aw liyasmut." That's what the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam preached to us. So anyone that believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the last day, it is best for him to say good or he keeps silent. So silence is actually a virtue. Silence is an important character that Muslims have to have. You have to note that it's not everything and everything you have something to say about. It's not every topic that you see trending you have to just jump on and say anyhow thing. We see a lot of people, the self-proclaimed scholars today, that will just come out today and say a lot of things about the trending issues just because they want to have this fame for themselves, just because they want to jump on the trend.
وأظلنا شهر السلام ضيف يزور بكل عام فإذا أهل هلاله في الكون ينحسر الظلام في الكون ينحسر الظلام ونفوسنا تهفو له وتهيم فيه فلا تلام أيامه قدسية غيم سقى الدنيا سلام غيم سقى الدنيا سلام وأظلنا شهر السلام ضيف يزور بكل عام فإذا أهل هلاله في الكون ينحسر الظلام في الكون ينحسر الظلام تروي القلوب من الظما والليل يعبق بالقيام والعتق فيه هدية من ربنا حسن الختام من ربنا حسن الختام وأظلنا شهر السلام ضيف يزور بكل عام يلقي الأنهار الذهبية أهلا أهلا أهل المحفل أنتم.
Stories. We all love good stories. Relatable heroes, complicated villains, compelling plots, mind-blowing twists, conflict, suspense, and bittersweet endings. From fully grown adults to thumb-sucking children, everyone can recognize that these points collectively make up the whole of a great story. Whether it's in ancient Mesopotamia or Victorian London, human beings have been desiring and consuming stories of grand mythical adventure. Stories transcend many different mediums, like for instance in the form of Shakespeare's play, Hamlet, or for the film The Lion King, not the remake. Believe it or not, these two stories have had a profound impact on individuals and societies alike. So this begs the question: if great stories have the extraordinary power to inspire people to change their lives, then which story is the greatest? Only one story stands tall amongst the greats: the story of Yusuf. That's right, out of millions of tales weaved, none are as profound as the story of Yusuf. According to many scholars, Prophet Yusuf's story in Surah Yusuf is the best story ever told.
نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص بما أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن وإن كنت من قبله لمن الغافلين.
Ahsan al-Qasas, the best of stories. And we're going to prove this. We're going to prove to you that the story of Yusuf is objectively one of, if not the best story ever told, in a way that's probably never been done before. How, you ask? Well, to do so, I'm going to be using one of the most popular and influential standards of modern storytelling. This book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces, written by Joseph Campbell. Or you can just call him Yusuf. Joseph Campbell took thousands of years of storytelling and mythology from all walks of life and studied their similarities and differences. He compiled a theory from this study called the hero's journey, which has now become the standard for modern storytelling. This theory was used by some of the most brilliant artistic minds to conjure memorable movies, write intelligent stories, and create meaningful content for billions of people to enjoy. As a matter of fact, The Hero with 1,000 Faces is often labeled as one of the top 100 most influential books written in the last 100 years. This is why we want to compare the story of Yusuf to the hero's journey. But what is the hero's journey? Simply put, it is a narrative cycle made up of 12 steps, whereby a hero goes on an adventure to face challenges and ultimately emerges victorious, having undergone a change. The steps represent an internal stage which the hero enters on his or her journey. Already sounds like every other movie we've watched, right? I will be walking you through every single step of this theory to prove to you that the story of Yusuf not only fulfills each and every step, but goes above and beyond and blows storytelling out of the ballpark. But first, just a disclaimer. I should probably say that in no way am I saying that Surah to Yusuf is great because of this book. Surah to Yusuf is great because Allah said so. Full stop. Given its universal acceptance, we are just using the hero's journey as a comparative and universal standard. Okay, let's begin our journey. Starting at Step 1, Status Quo. This stage sets the scene. Our hero is ordinary, living in an ordinary world. It may not be good or bad, but they are complacent with their current situation. So what is the status quo in Surah Yusuf? In just a few verses, we come to know Yusuf as a young boy who lives under the wing of his loving and caring father, Yaqub. In fact, their relationship was so strong that Yusuf's brothers felt extremely envious of him. Step 2, Call to Adventure. Our hero may feel like he or she is comfortable, but that doesn't mean that they do not want to change. As a matter of fact, they need to change. They need a call to adventure to leave their ordinary, comfortable world, just like Yusuf. Destiny has summoned the hero. The young, soon-to-be prophet received his call in the form of a dream. He had seen the sun, the moon, and 11 stars prostrating to him. This dream signaled to Yusuf the journey that awaited him. Step 3, Refusal of the call. The hero initially hesitates or resists the call due to his fear or doubt. This is due to his or her familiarity with the current world and the unknowns of entering the new world. Campbell accurately says that refusal is essentially a refusal to give up what one takes to be one's own interests. Neither Yusuf nor his father necessarily refuses the call. Knowing that this call is from Allah, they trust His decree and take the necessary precautions. The only hesitation in this matter was the potential danger of the brothers' envy. Step 4, Assistance. Behind every great hero is a great mentor. The mentor is someone who can help guide our hero along his journey. They usually take the form of a father or a father figure whose valuable wisdom and guidance are of utmost importance for their hero to complete his or her journey. Campbell describes this figure as a benign protecting power of destiny. In Yusuf's case, he begins his journey with the assistance of his first mentor, his own father, Yaqub. Jacob, being the wise prophet, was justifiably worried for the safety of his beloved son and knew exactly what to do in that instance. His father interprets the dream as a revelation from God and warns him never to mention this to his brothers out of fear of their jealousy. Advice that would go on to take the form of a prediction. Step 5, Departure. Our hero has received the call to adventure, and his mentor has equipped him with the necessary tools to take his endeavor. Now it's time to answer it, either willingly or unwillingly. The hero must enter the unknown. In Yusuf's case, unwillingly. His brothers couldn't handle their jealousy any longer, so they deceivingly convinced their father to take him into the woods to play. Instead, they had cunningly devised a plan to throw Yusuf down a well, hoping to rid him from their lives. A cruel act that caused Yusuf to depart his world and enter another. Yusuf's adventure has just begun. Step 6, Trials. Being launched into an unknown world, the hero must overcome challenges along the way. These challenges serve as opportunities for growth and transformation. During this stage, the hero must learn to form new alliances and counter adversaries. Yusuf was alone for the first time in his life, betrayed by his own brothers and stuck in a deep, dark well. One can only understand the trauma of undergoing such a trial, but this was just the start. Yusuf had been discovered by a band of travelers. Much to his delight, they had rescued him. But instead of doing the right thing and returning the young boy to his father, they instead thought to make a quick profit by selling him into the slave market. An ally turned adversary. He had been purchased by a wealthy man named Al-Aziz. Yusuf would expect nothing but cruelty in his enslavement, but it just so happened that Al-Aziz was a kind man. He would treat Yusuf with kindness and good treatment. An adversary turned ally. It was from these critical events Yusuf grew and developed his understanding of the world he came to inhabit. Step 7. Approach. From the learnings, growth, and development of the trials the hero faced, he now becomes closer to his ultimate goal. Maybe the hero believes that he has reached his peak, or maybe they think there's no more to their journey. But they are mistaken. A challenger approaches when the hero least expects. They are confronted with the reality that they are not even close to the end. Yusuf became close to Al-Aziz, climbing the social ladder and developing skills in public dealings. Growing up in Al-Aziz's household had many perks, but one major problem: Zulaykha, Al-Aziz's wife. You see, Zulaykha had been keeping a close eye on Yusuf growing up. She had desired Yusuf for herself and wanted to take him even if it meant falling into sin. So she trapped him in her chamber and ordered him to come to her. Yusuf, being a righteous prophet of Allah, wanted nothing to do with this sin. So he raced to the door. She had caught up to him and ripped his shirt. Now, imagine this scene. Who should open the door but Al-Aziz? Step 8. Crisis. The point at which our hero faces the greatest challenge. Every previous thing that the hero learned is now put to the test. The hero has now entered the belly of the beast. After spending years living in a wealthy household, serving a master who had been kind to him, Yusuf's world is about to be flipped upside down once again. Al-Aziz had found his wife and his servant in quite an awkward predicament. He immediately issues a trial on the spot to see what happened. Zulaykha immediately accuses the innocent Yusuf of rape, even though all the evidence points towards her doing. Al-Aziz, out of embarrassment of this shameful story going out and leaking into the public, told Yusuf to forget this and dismissed his wife as if nothing happened. But word travels fast, and Zulaykha's mischief became the talk of the town, especially amongst the elite women. Yusuf had to bear the brunt of this nightmare. Zulaykha insisted on getting her way with him whether he liked it or not. She gave him an ultimatum. Either she gets her way with him, or she sends him straight to prison for the rest of his life. Here you can actually see the wickedness of Zulaykha's intent. Either she indulges in adultery or seeks revenge by unjustly imprisoning Yusuf. Yusuf, being the strong hero in this story, chose prison. And so Al-Aziz had sent him to prison on unsubstantiated charges. Once again, Yusuf has found himself in a dark place with no hope but to rely on his Lord. Having spent years in prison, Yusuf had come across two individuals who sought his interpretation of dreams they had seen. Being given this privileged knowledge by Allah, Yusuf interpreted the prisoner's dreams and recognized only one of them was going out alive. So he said to the man to mention him before the king so that justice could be done in his case. However, once the man was released, he completely forgot to do so. And so Yusuf was left in prison for several more years. His hope of ever being released had been quashed. His only hope is Allah. Step 9. Reward. The hero, having endured his trial of danger, is now at their lowest point. The journey so far has worn and torn him, and if he is patient, then he will be rewarded. The king of Egypt had seen a dream which deeply concerned him. He consulted his close advisors for some interpretation. None had any idea as to what the dream meant, and so even dismissed it as false dreams. The same man who had forgotten all about Yusuf just so happened to be in the king's court at that moment. He finally remembered his dream interpreting cellmate after all these years, and so he went back to Yusuf to explain the dream for his interpretation. Yusuf interpreted the dream as a prophecy waiting to happen. For 7 years, the kingdoms will plant and it will harvest plentiful crops. This will be followed by 7 years of difficulty. When the king heard this, he asked for Yusuf to come to his palace, but to everyone's surprise, Yusuf rejected the offer. He said to the messenger for the king to look into the matter of his imprisonment. Lo and behold, after investigating, Zulaykha admitted to wrongfully accusing him of sexual assault. As a result of this revelation, Yusuf was released from his imprisonment, and not only that, the king appointed Yusuf as the chief minister of all of Egypt. Decades of desperately surviving in the lower echelons of society to rapidly rise to the most powerful executive position in the entire kingdom in just one decision. The hero had finally earned the reward. Step 10. The road back. The hero had attained the top prize and renewed his or her sense of purpose. Now there is only one way to go. It's time for the hero to return back home. But Yusuf is now the chief minister of the king. How is he going to return home? Well, in Yusuf's case, home came to him. His long-lost brothers have come to the chief minister to ask for provisions. Only unbeknownst to them, they didn't know that the same chief minister is their young brother, Yusuf alayhi salam, whom they cruelly threw down the well so many years ago. Yusuf devised a plan to test his brothers to see if they were still up to their old ways. The main part of the plan was to get the brothers to obtain their younger brother, Benjamin, from their father and hand him over to Yusuf for keeping and see how they handle it. Yusuf placed a goblet cup in one of the saddles of Benjamin and demanded the brothers explain themselves. One of the brothers immediately makes up the absurd lie that a previous brother, Yusuf, had once stolen before, and it wouldn't be unlikely that Benjamin would steal as well. They had selfishly placed themselves before their younger brother once again, and Yaqub had lost his son once again. Stricken with grief, Yaqub loses his eyesight as a result of his grief over his lost sons. If they were desperate before, now they are hopeless. They go back to Yusuf begging to trade their subpar merchandise for provision to feed their starving father. When Yusuf saw them bend the knee in desperation, he revealed that he was indeed their long-lost brother, Yusuf. They admitted their wrongdoing and sought his forgiveness. Yusuf didn't criticize them or admonish them. Famously, he said, "There will be no condemnation on you today." Yusuf gives the brothers his shirt and takes it to their father. He instructed them to wipe the shirt over their father's face to cure his blindness and to bring the entire family over to Egypt to live there. Step 11. New life. The hero is now back home, whether that be literally or figuratively, and now leads a new life. Jacob, his family, and by extension the rest of his tribe are welcomed into Egypt by Yusuf. Step 12. Restoration. The last stage of the hero's journey. After returning home, our hero lives with a renewed sense of perspective on life and wisdom. Like a circle, the hero is back where he started, but everything is different. Finally, Yusuf's decade-long journey has now ended. He sits his parents on the throne to honor them. Suddenly, his family fell into prostration out of respect, thus fulfilling the prophecy entailed in the dream that Yusuf had seen as a young boy decades before. Think about that. Yusuf, as a young child, barely able to take care of himself, was wise enough to trust Allah to see his plan through to the very end. Yusuf's journey was planned by the best of planners. So we just proved to you that a chapter in the Quran revealed over 1,400 years ago by an unlettered merchant who lived in the middle of the desert on a peninsula which had been untouched by empires has a narrative structure that's thematically complex, linguistically intricate, and ticks off every checkpoint of a study compiled only decades ago. I don't know about you, but I just got chills. When it comes to Surah Yusuf and other chapters in the Quran alike, to speak of their gems in a short video is doing a disservice to their greatness. And here's the thing. We only spoke about the story structure in the English language. We haven't even touched on the Arabic linguistic meanings of the verses. Just in this single chapter contains an ocean of knowledge, pearls of wisdom, and lessons for us to absorb and implement in our lives. Whether it's self-reflection, handling grief, exerting patience, utilizing power, or showing forgiveness, our own Prophet Muhammad ﷺ found great solace and comfort in reading Surah Yusuf during the most difficult year of his life, the year of grief. And that's the thing about great stories. They don't exist to entertain or distract people from reality. They exist to inspire change within people. Whether it's grief, confusion, sadness, or maybe even fear, you can definitely be sure to seek the answers in the stories of the Quran. You only need to pick it up and read. Dive into the trials of Ayub, the triumph of Musa over Pharaoh, or Yunus being swallowed whole by a whale. And who knows? Maybe you'll be inspired to create some of your own stories. And maybe someday you can inspire change in the next generation.
بدر الليلة شوقا يلقي الأنوار الذهبية هبت نفحات أنسية فشد البلبل ألف تحية وبدا البدر الليلة شوقا يلقي الأنوار الذهبية.
I had a client that I mentioned his name in one of my books that he was a gym goer and having a lot of muscles, mashallah, tabarakallah. And I will never forget that brother because he was exceptionally tall. And he came to me after 1 week of his marriage, claiming that he tried to have intimacy with his wife, only to find out that he couldn't at all for a whole week. And when I chat with him about his practices online, I got to know that he was addicted for too long to pornography, and as a result, he couldn't function on his wedding night. And this is, by the way, it's not uncommon at all.
For many kids, pornography turns from a casual interest to an addictive, obsessive course.
The largest sex and porn addiction clinic in the country says it is now treating more workers who watch up to 14 hours of porn a day.
My dirty little secret was that I was addicted to pornography for years.
Pornography conditioned your brain to seek sexual pleasure through screens and pixels only. And as a result of this is now one of the most common things that have been happening since 2006, specifically with the rise of YouTube-like videos, the streaming videos online. With more accessible image of that nature, your brain will be overstimulated with these images, and as a result, many people have reported that they can't function sexually with their real-life partners. Erectile dysfunction. At a very young age, as young as 18, there are research in Italy, in Sweden, in America, where actually they have found that the rise of erectile dysfunction among youngsters below the age of 40 have increased by 30% within 10 years span of time. Erectile dysfunction. So you watch pornography, you have no problem with erection, you have no problem with ejaculation, but when it comes to real life partner, you can't function. And the reason is your brain had conditioned you to seek that pleasure and to attain that pleasure through screens, through pixels, through images only. This is known now, a condition known as porn-induced erectile dysfunction. Dr. Carlo Foresta, the head of the Italian Society of Andrology and Sexual Medicine, he stated, it starts with lower reaction to porn site, then there is a general drop of libido, and in the end it becomes nearly impossible to have erection. So imagine yourself in that position. If you're unmarried and you're planning, inshallah, to get married in the land, to make it halal, imagine yourself in that position. Would you like to actually look at your wives in the eye and tell her, sorry, I can't do anything about it? Wallahi, my brothers and sisters, just 2 days ago, I witnessed a divorce case because of this same issue. Erectile dysfunction. For how long? 2 years. Wallahi, the brother told me, and the sister too. 2 years he couldn't function sexually, but when he's on porn, he don't have a problem with erection and masturbation. May Allah protect us all. We get a lot of reports where a husband will beat up his wife during sexual intimacy. Why is that? How did he learn these things? From pornography. We get other reports, even more horrific news about a husband who will handcuff his wife and try to simulate rape scenes that he had seen in pornography, in porn films. And as a result, all of that lead to something even more massive, and that is disliking the halal relationship. Subhanallah al-Azim. When you desire the haram, my brothers and sisters in Islam, what happens? You lose interest in the halal. So many people will leave their wives and hunt for prostitution houses, dirty massage places, walayadu billah. As a result of what? The escalation of the addiction in the brain. I think that's sufficient reasons for you, my brothers and sisters, to quit watching this film.
يلقي الأنوار الذهبية يلقي الأنوار الذهبية.
Today we'll be discussing infidelity, cheating in our local parlance, in our local connotation, cheating. When we talk about infidelity have different form of different effects, different problems that is associated with it. As such, we are going to look at it from different perspectives. We are going to look at it from the psychological point of view. We are going to look at it from the medical point of view. We are going to look at it from the mental health, point of view, and the spiritual point of view. First and foremost, it has become a problem that is very rampant in our society, and as such, many persons have decided to look at it as a societal norm, which is actually a societal vices. Cheating, which is also known as infidelity, have so many disadvantages. In fact, it has no advantage, but rather disadvantage. And among the disadvantages include one, psychological problem. When you are cheating on your spouse, one of the problem you're going to face is distrust. You are going to lose your trust. You are going to lose that trust that your spouse have for you, that you have built, that reputation you have built for a very long time. You are going to lose it, and as such, you will never be trusted again. In fact, once you have lost trust, there is nothing you can do about it. You may likely lose it forever. Secondly, you might be someone in the society that have lost value. Because when people look at you as person that the society is watching, people are watching, people are looking at you that you are the type of person that is cheating on your spouse, you lose value in the society. People who really knows what is personality, people look at you as someone that don't have any personality. People look at you as a person that cannot be trusted in any form. Someone that can cheat on his spouse cannot be trusted. Someone that have lived with you for years, someone that you are married to, you have passed through all the pains to eventually get married to this person, and eventually you feel that the person is not enough for you, and you decide to go to the illegal way and cheat on this person. You lose trust and you lose value in the society. Another thing is, now the person you are cheating on, your spouse you are cheating on, will suffer mental breakdown. Many persons who are being cheated on, the similitude is like someone who have passed through some traumatic situations. So they may likely suffer from PTSD. So when they suffer from this, they are just like somebody. They are just like somebody who just come out from war, like people in Gaza, for example, or people who are passing through war situation in Ukraine or whatsoever. They are in the same position. So imagine you putting through someone you claim you love. The person is passing through trauma, PTSD, mental breakdown, depression, because that so-called person he loves so much, that so-called person he has entrusted so much, decided to betray their trust by passing through the illegal means to satisfy their ego or their cheating tendency. So that person you are cheating on will suffer mental breakdown because they have entrusted their life to you, and you end up misusing that opportunity. Another thing that you may suffer when you are cheating on your spouse, you yourself may feel dirty. You may feel that you are no longer close to God. Except, initially when you are doing it, there's what we call dopamine. The dopamine rush comes in and you feel happy when you do it. But at the end of the day, after that dopamine the concentration of dopamine in your blood have reduced, you start regretting your action. But a time will come, you become so addicted to it that you no longer regret your action. At this time, you become so addicted to it that there's nothing anybody can do about it again. So you are destroying yourself. You are becoming an addict to something that the society frown at. Another thing that you yourself may eventually suffer, which is the cruise of this matter, is the medical perspective. There are a lot of situations whereby you cheat on your spouse, it boomerangs. It boomerangs not just to you, it boomerangs, and your spouse suffers the consequence, you suffer the consequence, your spouse suffers the consequence, your children suffers the consequence. For example, you went outside, you cheat on your spouse, at the end of the day, you carry you bring in, you get venereal diseases such as syphilis. Let's say syphilis, for example, you cheat on your spouse and you get syphilis. And syphilis is one sort of a bad infection that many persons don't even know that they have it. It's common today. Many people don't know that they have it. And you may even have it for years. You are not even aware that you are carrying syphilis. Yes. Except sometimes syphilis can cause madness. Syphilis can cause a lot of heart problem, joint problem. Think of it. think of it, there are a whole lot of complications that syphilis comes with. And this is why it is called the great mimicker, because you'll be treating other diseases, but not knowing that what you're actually carrying is syphilis. Another thing that can happen when you eventually go out there, you bring another disease like gonorrhea, for example. You bring in gonorrhea to your spouse, and your spouse may not even be aware, because the female, for example, might not, develop the symptoms of gonorrhea immediately. It takes time, it takes years for them to, develop, the symptoms of gonorrhea, especially when they eventually want to take it. They will now discover that they are being infertile. You are being unjust. Probably you might even go out there, bring in syphilis, infect your wife start having bilateral tuber blockade, and you start accusing her of what? Infertility, not knowing that you are the one who went out there, bring in the disease such as gonorrhea and chlamydia, give your wife, and your wife is asymptomatic. She's not even aware until when she wants to start breeding children. At the end of the day, infertility comes in because the tubes are blocked. How you have just destroyed someone you called your love. You have just caused complication. You have just caused so serious problem for that so-called woman you love. Now she has bilateral tuber blockade. What are you going to do about it? Infertility. The worst that happen after you have brought this disease to her, the tubes are blocked. At the end of the day, you may not go back to that woman that you have been cheating with and bring her in as a wife who will now eventually start breeding children for you. Whereas the person you marry as your true love, you have destroyed that person's life. Then if eventually she gets pregnant, probably she's not having gonorrhea that eventually block her tube. She eventually gets pregnant anyway. But you have given her syphilis. She may not be aware. The syphilis will pass down to the children, and the children are infected. The children's brain are destroyed. The children's life become miserable. The children start having congenital anomaly, congenital deformities, and you will not even know what is causing it. Rather, you will claim that it is the evil eyes that is causing you to have children that are deformed, not knowing that because you went out there to bring syphilis, you infect your wife, and your wife in turn infect the unborn child, and the unborn child eventually become a malformed child. Then you start blaming village people, not knowing that it is your action. You went out to play away match that is causing this problem. Another thing that could result to due to cheating could be what? HIV. I don't even want to talk about HIV because there are a lot of complications that goes along with HIV. HIV should be the last we'll talk about. Human papilloma virus, for example, is another complication that you could go out there, bring in, and give your wife. The bad thing about human papilloma virus is it does not present with any symptoms. Yes, it does not present with any symptoms. It does not, you cannot be protected with condoms. No matter how much you do with condoms, if you are meeting someone that have this virus, you will get it and take this virus to your wife. And the bad thing about human papilloma virus is that it transforms into cancer. Yes, cervical cancer. The commonest cause of cervical cancer in women today is what? Human papilloma virus. It is the common cause of cervical cancer. In fact, it is the #1 cause of cervical cancer. And this is the reason why we cannot trust anybody. This is the reason why we advocate that any woman that has become sexually active must undergo the pap smear, must do the pap smear so that to rule out human papilloma virus. In fact, the teaching is any woman that is 15 years and above that is sexually active must do what? Must be checked for must screen for human papilloma viruses. So this is some of the medical perspective from the aspect of infidelity, from the aspect of cheating. Another reason why you should not cheat is when you go out there, you bring HIV. At the end of the day, you infect your wife. HIV have a window period such that she might not even be aware that you yourself are infected, and you yourself might not even be aware that you are even infected because they are usually asymptomatic. At the end of the day, what now happens is you become sick after years and years, and the root of it might not even be traced. Now, what about gonorrhea? You go out there, you cheat, and you bring in gonorrhea. And many of you, by the time you have gotten this gonorrhea, you are shy to meet the doctor. You rather go to a chemist that nobody knows you and you want to take antibiotics. The bad thing about it is when you are not properly treated, there are a lot of complicated Neisseria gonorrhea out there that are resistant to antibiotics today. So you go out there, Nurse Elysia gave you some certain antibiotics which will not be, you will not be treated with. At the end of the day, you have remnant of this gonorrhea and you eventually develop urethral stricture. Urethral stricture is a very bad complication in male. When we say urethral stricture, we are talking about a stricture in between your urethra, where the urine comes out, becomes, you have stricture there, and at the end of the day, you find it difficult to urinate. And this is a very bad complication that is not favorable to men at all. You suffer a lot. In fact, there are a lot of complications, and there are a lot of it comes with a lot of pains if eventually someone develop urethral stricture. There's a research which is published that says that men who eventually develop who have gonorrhea that was not properly treated eventually develop urethral stricture by the time 19 years later. Many of them, almost 100% of them, will develop urethral stricture. So this is one of the reasons why you as a man, you shouldn't go out there and cheat on your spouse. So it is very disgusting, it is very dirty, it is lack of trust, you lack of discipline. You have a wife at home and eventually you are cheating on her, you are going out there to sleep around. Why don't you, from the Islamic perspective, if you see any woman that you love, that you know that you want, why don't you go through the legal means? You marry this woman legally as instructed by Islam, rather than passing through the corner, you are sleeping with her. At the end of the day, you cheat on her and you bring in diseases. Now, this is just one aspect of cheating. Another aspect of cheating is emotional cheating, and you are giving another woman attention and you are not giving your spouse attention. So many men does this. They don't even know the woman in person. Instead of them to even discuss with their wife and give them this attention, rather they have one online girlfriend that they rather spend their time with. It is also cheating. You are also cheating on your spouse. Yes, you have another girlfriend outside that you are not even having any illicit affair with her, but the money that you ought to have spent on your family, you are spending on her. It is also cheating. But people don't really talk about this aspect of cheating, but rather we are concentrated on when you eventually confirm that it is cheating, then you are not having that sexual intercourse. That is when you confirm that you are cheating. All those other things you are doing, you are giving them money, you are chatting with them, it is just, it is not yet confirmed yet. It is when you are not doing the do with them, that is when it is actually confirmed that you are.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Kamal Ahmed. Please keep on watching Amana Legacy Foundation across social media platforms. Our support in watching them and following them will count a lot to make their message to get to the larger population. May Allah reward you all as you do that. Barakallahu fikum wa jazakumullahu khairan.
Now, from the Islamic point of view, cheating, Islam prohibits it. That is why the Quran says, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا إِنَّهُ كَانَ فَاحِشَةً وَسَاءَ سَبِيلًا. It is so bad that even Yusuf alayhi salam, one of the prophets of God in the Quran, he rather chose to go to jail than to have an illicit affair with the king's wife. So he rather went to jail than, because of the illicit nature, because of the disgusting, because of how disgusting and how dirty it is in the sight of God, Yusuf ran rather went to jail instead of doing this thing. Even some scholars of Islam, there's one scholar that wrote one book, he's an Egyptian scholar. In that book, he said there was a time a woman was trying to seduce him. Instead of him doing this, what did he do? He rather used, excreta to bathe himself so that he will look disgusting and look unattractive to the woman. And it worked for him. So many people who are close to God, they have opportunity to do this, but they know what it is. And they know the Islamic point of view, they know the spiritual point of view, they run away from it. So it is, the Quran said, do not go near. The Quran did not say, don't do it. It said, don't even go near. Don't even go near. Don't even go close to it. Don't even go close up to it. Talk more of doing it. Many of us, we are getting close to it. We chat with illicit people online. We laugh with illicit women online. We do all sorts of things called social media online. We have bestie who are females. At the end of the day, this is pushing us towards closer to doing this evil act of, adultery. Now, to differentiate it, we have adultery, we have fornication. In the Islamic point of view, if you are married, even though you are divorced, once you have tasted marriage, if you do it outside the confines of marriage, even though you are divorced, it is classified as adultery. But if you are not married, then you do it is classified as fornication. They are two different things, and the punishment for these two sins differs. The punishment for adultery is different from the punishment of fornication. In Islam, those who commit adultery should be given a capital punishment. Unlike the fornication, that those who commit fornication should be flogged and may be banished from the society, from the community for 1 year. Adultery is not like that. Adultery, the punishment for adultery is usually death. This is what Islam says, and this is the reason why you shouldn't go close to it at all, because the reason it is classified as treason, it is classified as betrayal of trust. You have betrayed your family, you have betrayed the society, you are bringing what will destroy the society. This is why the punishment for adultery is massive. The punishment for adultery is massive. So the complications, the complexity of adultery, the complications of adultery, they are too numerous to mention. For example, some persons have, children out of wedlock somewhere, and they are married. Their wife is not even aware that they have children somewhere because they are engrossed in adultery. At the end of the day, those so-called children that this person is breeding somewhere, they don't even have any father figure. Yes, they are being brought up without a father figure. Many of them are not being cared for, especially those so-called single mothers, for example. They are not being cared for. They are the one carrying this load on their own. At the end of the day, they breed children that will be nuisance to the society, children that will have criminal tendency to the society, children that want to be doing, all sorts of prostitution. They will start bringing them in the society because there is no fatherly figure. So the complexity, the complications, the evils of adultery is too numerous to mention. To run this video up, adultery can result to mental breakdown. Many women who are depressed today, one of the reasons why they are depressed is because they caught their husband cheating. Many women have killed themselves, they become depressed, and eventually they committed suicide because they caught their men cheating on them. Many women eventually we are now behaving like mad people. They now have serious mental breakdown because they caught their husband cheating. Many women now suffer from post-traumatic stress disorders because they caught that man that they never believed for once that he would cheat. They caught him cheating. It is also the reverse is also the case. Women too cheat on their spouse. Women too cheat on their spouse, and the reverse is also the case. The men also suffers this mental breakdown. Now take a look. A woman goes out there, cheat on the spouse, and bring another pregnancy to the man. And eventually the man found out that the pregnancy himself, the child that he has been taking care of for years, is not his. What happened to the man? Mental breakdown. That is the kind of mental breakdown the women also suffer. But people tend to they don't even want to look at it from that perspective. Women also suffers mental breakdown when they catch their husband doing this cheating. Now, you cheat first time, you are caught. Your wife suffers serious mental breakdown. She forgives you, but the trust is eroded. You do it second time. You keep making this someone else's daughter to pass through mental breakdown several times. First time you do it, she passed through several mental breakdown. She has not recovered from the post-traumatic stress event she has passing through. You are doing it a second time. You are doing it a third time. You are doing it a fourth time. In this situation, it is better off for this woman to leave you than to, one, suffer this mental breakdown, depression. Two, it is better for her to leave you instead of you to bring disease to her, such as gonorrhea, syphilis, HIV, HPV, that's human papilloma virus. Of course, HIV is not curable. Hepatitis is not curable. Hepatitis B is not curable. Yes, syphilis is curable, but sometimes the damage could already be done before they discover, and the damages are not reversible. Human papilloma virus is, she might have already have it and even be on first stage of cervical cancer before they eventually found out. So these are some of the complexity, the complications, the evil that comes with adultery. Thank you so much for your attention, and I hope this video will go a long way to enlighten us and tell us that do not cheat on your spouse. Do not do it. It is an evil way which no reasonable human being should do. Thank you so much for your attention. Bye.
وأظلنا شهر السلام ضيف يزور بكل عام فإذا أهل هلاله في الكون ينحسر الظلام في الكون ينحسر الظلام ونفوسنا تهفو له وتهيم فيه فلا تلام أيامه قدسية غيم سقى الدنيا سلام غيم سقى الدنيا سلام وأظلنا شهر السلام ضيف يزور بكل عام فإذا أهل هلاله في الكون ينحسر الظلام في الكون ينحسر الظلام تروي القلوب من الظما والليل يعبق بالقيام والعتق فيه هدية من ربنا حسن الختام من ربنا حسن الختام وأظلنا شهر السلام ضيف يزور بكل عام الذهبية يلقي الأنوار الذهبية يلقي الأنوار الذهبية.
To appreciate people that inshallah they've impacted knowledge in me. I'll start by appreciating my mudir, the mudir of my kuliya, Sheikh Dr. Abdul Qadir Salman Al-Jum'ah, hafidhahullah wa ra'ah. Also my parents, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, they've contributed to this journey. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them more than they've done to me. The rest of my teachers too, those that time do not permit me to actually mention their name. So I sincerely pray for you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be with every one of you.
أنوار الذهبية يلقي الأنوار الذهبية يلقي الأنوار الذهبية. أهلا أهلا أهل المحفل أنتم أبهى أنتم أجمل فالأشعار تراقص بشرا وسرى الحب كماء الجدول. أهلا أهلا أهل المحفل أنتم أبهى أنتم أجمل فالأشعار تراقص بشرا وسرى الحب كماء الجدول. قد شرفتم حفل السمر مثل نجوم